Hello and welcome back to Music Theater Theory. Whoa! I've been away from the channel for a while, but I'm back with an analysis from the recently closed Tony Award-winning Best Revival on Broadway, Merrily We Roll Along. We're going to look at Good Thing Going today. This is a score, obviously, by the GOAT, Stephen Sondheim. But this song is very, very simple, even though Sondheim has a reputation for going very complex. It's supposed to be a diegetic song, meaning that the characters in the show actually know that this is a song. It's not the characters singing kind of their subconscious thoughts. It is actually the character physically singing a song in the world of the show. So Charlie is singing and Frank is playing the piano. They are a writing duo. They've written this song in the story and they're presenting it at this cocktail party. And it's a very simple song. It's written in AABA song form, which was very standard for the time period that it's set. It's set in the 50s or 60s at some point, this scene. And so it uses this very simple song form and these very, very simple chords. But then there's all of this weird harmony in it that, first of all, it gives it its Sondheimian flair, but also it tells the story of this collaboration that's crumbling. And of course, in the future, which is earlier on in the show because the show goes backwards in chronological order. If you know the show, you know that already. But in the future of this partnership, there's going to be a lot of conflict and it's going to blow up in spectacular fashion. So the tension in the music is representing the tension in the partnership starting to form. So this is how the song starts. Very, very simple. That's the intro. It's 3 bars long, but there's just ever so slightly something off about every single chord. It starts on a very normal F major chord, right? There's nothing extra there. But then we go to this C major chord, but the bass doesn't change. You would expect the bass to change to be C in the C major chord, but instead it stays on that F. So we get this kind of weird chord where everything is playing a C major chord, except for that bass is still playing the F. So there's just something ever so slightly off about it. And then we come back to the F major chord here at bar 4, but with this added G, which kind of creates that dissonance. And there's also something a little bit off about the fact that it's a 3-bar phrase. You would usually expect it to be 4 bars. That's a very nice round number, but because it's 3 bars, it feels like there's something missing from it. Then Charlie comes in. It started out like a song. Here's that C major chord over F again. Then we started quiet and slow with no surprise. And here we have an A major chord over F again, which is a standard major triad. If you move that C sharp up the octave, it's a standard major triad, but that bass note is so weird. And then one morning I woke, here's a really weird chord, I woke to realize we had a good thing going. So what you'll start to notice as you look at the harmony of this song is that even though there are some very strange chords, they don't sound that strange in context because every note leads very naturally to the next note. So for example, these chords here, this chord on its own sounds really weird. Listen to it. On its own, that's kind of a weird chord, but this B natural leads to that B flat, which leads to that A very naturally, right? Just chromatic motion, that's called, just going down one semitone at a time. And then the exact same thing happens here with the G to the G flat to the F. So if I just play the bottom 2 notes of the right hand together, right, that sounds very normal and standard. And then this C stays stagnant and then goes up to the D and kind of splits off. The C splits to the B flat and the D. So if I just play the top part of the right hand, it sounds like this. Which is also very normal. However, putting them together, there's some clashes. But because each part individually makes sense on its own, the clashes resolve very naturally, so they don't feel as jarring as they would, for example, if they didn't resolve at all. If they went like... that would sound very weird. But because they resolve nicely... and here's a great example of that. This bass line, all of those notes together sound very weird, but they lead perfectly to the next chord. Like this C is the dominant of F, so it leads very nicely to F, which is where it's going to end up. And then here, this G sharp leads very nicely to an A, which fits in that F major chord. So every piece of harmony, even though it doesn't really make sense vertically, it doesn't make sense like it clashes with what's happening at the same time, but it makes sense horizontally. It connects to what's happening before and after it. And that's what makes it feel natural and not random, you know? I find clashing harmony can sometimes feel very random, but because it's all connected to what comes before and after, it doesn't feel that way in this song, I think. It's not that nothing went wrong. So here's our second A section. There's a few differences. My hands are not big enough to play that without stretching, but there's a few differences here from the original, but it is the same melody as the original, so we're calling it the next A section. And like the differences are so subtle, they just kind of help to bring the song to the next level. Like here, this was, in the original version, just a normal C chord over F. But now we have this C, like, this really weird, crunchy, like, G... what is it, like a G13 over F. Like it's a just slightly weirder chord than before. And then instead of going ba-da up to the C, we get up to the D instead, which kind of pops out of nowhere. So it's just all of these little variations, but with the same melody. Then we go... some angry moments, of course, but just a few, and only moments no more, because we knew we had this good thing going. Then we get to the B section, so the harmony totally changes, the melody totally changes, it gives us some contrast. And if I wanted too much, was that such a mistake? At the time, this is a very kind of standard practice in these kinds of songs where it goes to the relative like fourth. So we've been in F major this whole time. This section kind of feels like it's in B flat major, which is a fourth away, because we get this E flat that comes in, which is from the B flat major scale. And that harkens back to like Mozart and like sonata form or something. I never studied classical music very deeply, but... it's all of this weird harmony happening here underneath, which, again, like, serves to represent the dissonance and the tension in the partnership. If it was just totally normal chords the whole way through, like... and if I wanted too much, was that such a mistake at the time? Like, if that's what we were hearing, it wouldn't represent the dissonance in the partnership as much. But because we get all of this weird stuff happening, Like, it's super strange. And then here, this is the weirdest part. This, like... wait. But, again, because it connects to what came before and what comes after, it makes sense to our ears, right? Like, this... That makes sense to our ears because here this connects to itself, and then this connects to itself. The other cool thing is that this kind of reminds me of that theme from Our Time and Merrily We Roll Along. Sorry, I'm bugged by the fact that the camera's kind of out of focus on me right now. I hope you're not as bothered by that as I am. That's weird. Anyways, then we come back to the intro, so back to that A section again. And while it's going along, back to the original voicing of the chord. So remember in that second A section, we got that like weird G13 flavor. Here we get right back to the original. You take for granted some love will wear away. We took for granted a lot. Here's that weird chord again. And still I say, we could have kept on growing. And here, it throws us off because the original A sections ended right there. It could have kept, we had a good thing going, then into the next A section. However, this time, we get that same bass line. We've heard this bass line before. And that G sharp, remember I said, it led very naturally to the A, which was in the F major chord. So we had this dissonant bass line that resolved. This time, we have a dissonant bass line that goes nowhere and doesn't resolve because we don't get the A in the next chord. Instead, we get this. Whoa! Out of nowhere. So it's dissonance that doesn't resolve. The tension keeps building. And again, that is a metaphor for the tension in the partnership. Another thing that I feel like I have to point out in this song, it would be remiss of me not to mention it, is the fact that this melody, those 7 notes, come to represent this partnership throughout the course of the entire show. There's... In Opening Doors is kind of the most obvious example. Opening Doors is a song that happens earlier chronologically, earlier in the lives of these characters. But again, like I said, they tell the story in reverse chronological order, so it happens later in the show. But the characters are younger, it's earlier in their lives, and they're writing a song called Who Wants to Live in New York, and they write a song that has that exact melody. And then, when their whole partnership falls apart, so when they're older, later in their lives, that means earlier on in the show, there's like a weird perversion of these 7 notes. Those 7 notes get taken and flipped all around and altered and turned into this like dissonant 7-note pattern that kind of represents their partnership falling apart. So this 7-note pattern is very, very important, and this song that they've written together uses those 7 notes. You take for granted some love, and while it's going along, all of that, it's the exact 7-note pattern. Anyways, so we've got the partnership that is represented by those 7 notes, the dissonance that represents the tension in that partnership, and then it's not resolving here instead of resolving the way we expect it. It's subverting our expectations at every turn. Instead of just kept on. What's going on here harmonically? It's like boom, 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 boom. like super dissonant and tense. There's clearly some tension there. And then, we had a good thing going, gone. And we end with an exact repeat of the intro, which is a very classic musical theater, and pop music actually uses that a lot as well, where we end with the exact copy of the intro to kind of bookend the song. And it shows that these writers are very good writers, and they're writers in the show. So some of these things are representative of the characters and what they're experiencing emotionally, like this dissonance. That's something that Sondheim put in there to represent the characters. But then some of it, like the AABA song form being very, very specific, like the intro being a repeat of the outro, all of that stuff, that is classic writer tropes that Sondheim is probably using to show that this is a diegetic song, meaning it's actually a song in the world of the show that the characters have written, and the characters are good writers who follow the rules of musical theater writing structure, and that's why they use AABA song form, and that's why they end with a repeat of the intro, etc. Anyways, I hope you found this interesting. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back on the channel posting every single Thursday from now on. I'm going to make a commitment to that right now, and I'm going to honor that because I don't have a lot coming up in the next couple months. So everybody, put a comment down below and let me know what you want me to analyze next. I've got a few songs on my list that I'm coming up to. Megan, patron over at Patreon, recommended Meadowlark, so that will be the next song that I tackle here on the channel. And I will see you then next Thursday. Peace out, y'all. Oh, wait. And my outro, I almost forgot, is this. Thank you so much. This has been Music Theater Theory. Whoa! Man, I take 3 months away from the channel and I forget my own theme song. All right, peace out.